ourselves. And since then, we have been able to move to this point now with our California Family Justice Network under the leadership of people like Suzanne, Paul, and Faith, who have worked very hard to help us coordinate ourselves and to have a voice as a Family Justice Network speaking for California. So our Advocacy Day this year was fantastic because we had the opportunity to meet with our elected officials in Sacramento and be able to connect with them on our activities and what we're doing for our centers, but more importantly, how they can help us in the future. So going back a little bit, the ability for us to ask for funding has come from the fact that we are indebted to Assemblymember Tim Grayson and his vision going forward for Family Justice Centers. The work of Assemblymember Grayson and his staff to be able to assist us in trying to find a long-term place for us in the California budget is really important. Each of our centers has been able to benefit from that program, and many centers who aren't represented here today. So our Advocacy Day, we have to keep up the ability to communicate with our elected officials, tell them what's going on, to provide resources to our clients and those that we're serving. At the same time, we have to continue to make ourselves a voice so that we stay on the tips of the members' tongues and community interest levels so that we can continue to be a voice for those that don't have one. Our Advocacy Day this year was robust. We met with over 20 offices. We had staff people from the different offices available to us, and then the year of their members. We were able to have our community FJC members of their staff, or representatives, even board members in some capacity, participate in our Advocacy Day to be able to share our stories. And this is, although Advocacy Day is formalized once a year, we talk to our legislative officials, it actually is our advocacy year round, and that where we go into district meetings where we invite people to see what we do. We all, in our course of our day, spend so much time working to provide services and pay the bills, we forget that we have to talk outside of ourselves to bring support and resources to our facilities. District meetings with local elected officials and their staff is crucial for us to be able to continue the momentum we have and to continue to bring awareness to the services here in our community. The additional activities that push our advocacy are public events and rallies where we can speak for those that we're serving, maybe for the centers that are services, maybe pairing with another community program or group or even government agency. Also taking advantage of press opportunities to highlight the work we're doing and bring comfort to those in need, and using our social media consistently so that we build up an algorithm and audience so we continue to share our story. It's really crucial that we continue to advocate for ourselves each and every day, not just once a year.
Okay. Wait, did I lose my share? Hold on. Hold on. Something happened. Forgive me. Technical difficulty interruption. Just 1 second. Okay.
And so in our Advocacy Day activities, it's really what we do so much. I know a lot of us see these different training sessions and webinars on how to tell your story. It's what we're doing all the time, is telling our story. And we need to be able to help each other tell our stories. And just like I met with staff members in Sacramento's FJC last week, helping remind me how to tell my story here at our center and continue to elevate our messages. So we do different things throughout the year to bring awareness to the community, to our supporters, and to our elected officials to continue to elevate our message from our Advocacy Day programs, providing open house services, open houses at our FJCs, so the public can be made aware of what we do, and showing the transparency of how we are providing services, presenting to our local elected bodies. Certainly Board of Supervisor presentations are crucial because many of us in the FJ network are supported by the district attorney's offices. So being able to keep the line of communication open with our elected officials is important so that they don't forget where the funding cycle is. And then, of course, community events and special occasions. Having a voice of those, having a message, or being represented is crucial to be able to remind our communities that we always need the assistance, whether a program is now or later. We have people we're serving that need that help.
Right.
Go ahead, Erin.
Yeah, so I don't know if this is not new news to anyone, but I think that, you know, the benefits of advocacy have been, and the work that Suzanne began with Assemblymember Tim Grayson and has continued through the work now elevating You all started in 2020 and through 2023. In this budget cycle, $10 million was allocated for family justice centers. Woohoo! Little moment of celebration for that. And so, in a tough budget year like we had this year, where there were cuts and cuts and cuts, and people basically said, don't even try. The elevation of awareness about the network and the work that you all do in the trenches every day is invaluable to securing that funding. And now, of course, we want to make sure that we thank everyone for that and think about building for more dedicated funding streams going forward and advocacy that will result in that, if not short-term, allocations like the ones you've been getting. So we wanted to just take a moment to talk about thank yous and invite you all to share thank yous with your legislative staff and offices. What we would like to ask is that we do personal thank yous this month, and then in November, I will prepare kind of a, around the Thanksgiving theme, a thank you for social, a digital thank you that you can send around to any of your supporters and folks who you want to say thank you to, and also legislative offices, and also to use on social. So given that, Lisa and I have prepared a sample thank you that we will send out after this. Faith, we use Sacramento as our sample, our Sacramento, but that would be the fill in the blank there, served by whomever your sender is. And you of course can make this your own and make it personal. Send by email is fine, but a personal note really works wonders and is more memorable. And that can go to the district office or to the Sacramento office. I want to just pause right now and ask if there's any questions before we move on to further discussion.
I don't know, Erin, if you remember how many meetings we had with our legislators in this last advocacy day.
Yeah, we had I think it's over 75. I can double check, but we had, it was really robust. We had many meetings and Senate and legislator and staff, and it was great. We also made some new, kind of plowed into new ground, if you will, by connecting at least by email and phone calls with some of the legislative committee staff on the budget, folks who oversee this work, and also the Department of the Office of Emergency Services, and the folks who oversee, you work with them every day, of course, with your grants, but the executive committee has had a few conversations with leadership there around all of the great work that everyone is doing. So the visibility, it's great to continue to kind of this arc of creating more visibility, awareness, and understanding of family justice networks. And now on a state level, the next step is we've had this incredible relationship with the beloved Tim Grayson, but we need to cultivate a senator, a similar someone on the Senate side who can be the champion. So want you all to put your thoughts about that, your local senators, and if you know them well, and cultivating relationships with local state senators, because we really need a champion on the Senate side. Yeah.
This is Faith. We're meeting this afternoon via Zoom, actually, with Senator Rubio's office.
Oh.
Because, well, we're doing this. There's a justice project, as you know, with staged suicide. So we've talked to her about doing some legislation around that. So anyway, she seems, so far, we met with her once about that, and we're meeting again with her staff this afternoon. So she seems really committed to domestic violence issues. So we'll continue to nurture her along.
That sounds amazing, Faith. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Really love hearing that. Okay.
Yeah. one thing I want to add along the line is how important it is really to advocate for the statewide network, because we are stronger when we work together. Because I had an opportunity to advocate for my center when my assembly member, Tim Grayson, first reached out to me and saying, Susan, what do you need? But that type of support is mostly just one-time funding. You know, they have discretionary dollars. And my thinking was that I didn't just want one-time grant for one center, right? Now I have 4 centers really, right? So this California-wide, statewide advocacy really is important, that all of us should be, of course, advocating for our individual centers, but also the network. Because I think our experience working with the legislature is that, as Erin mentioned, people have now gotten to know us. That's been our experience this year. Like last year or 2 years ago, when we went to meet with people, a lot of people were like, huh, we have never heard of you, you're new. This year, when we were meeting with the staff, you know, the budget committee staff, for example, they were like, okay, we know you already. So yeah, I know you, we know you, and we understand you ask next, what more, what new information do you have? So things have shifted over time. I think it's because all of us have been advocating. So just remember to advocate for the network, not just your individual centers.
Well, and just to kind of piggyback on that, I found being newer to the FJC community that it's really powerful when I bring up the network and what other counties are doing, because it's not so much in a competition way, but as this is a legitimate, successful way that it does things. You know, through the alliance, we have international examples, national examples, and then within our state, there's, you know, almost 30 FJCs. And so talking about that, I really think that for those in the political realm, it really is something prideful. And so I know for us, since Advocacy Day, we've had really good relationships with our local electeds on a state level and local to the San Joaquin community. And so it's been really awesome to be able to get the word out. But then also for those of us who have like overlaps, like we overlap a lot with Stanislaus County, using those relationships and talking about the legitimacy of the network makes it more realistic for people to get behind. So it's not seen on a small level, it's more a state level type thing.
Yeah, well said. Lisa, anything you want to say about the thank yous? And
They're really crucial. Thank you, Erin. Having the thank yous, it's always good manners to thank people, but honestly, it allows us the opportunity to leave a long-term impression that their action mattered. So sending a letter to the representative is always good practice, even if it's just for the meetings, but to be able to say we've got a budget allocation in an incredibly difficult budget year, they're going to rely on this. This is the cover they're looking for the support they give us. And because we're doing these thank you notes to them, it allows us to enhance our thank yous to them outside of just amongst themselves, but for us to thank people that do work on behalf of the FJCs as a whole on our social media and other sites. So being able to thank our elected officials, the use of our social media communications, tagging them is really important for them as well as us, because it shows to our surrounding areas that we have a voice in Sacramento or DC or wherever we're talking, and revalidates our work. But at the same time, it gives them a chance to say, hey, they actually noticed I did something for them. Because certainly if you don't say thank you often enough, they may not help you again. And the same to be said, once these elected officials may not be in office, there's going to be other people picking up the mantle. So we always need to be able to be aware of who we are asking for assistance, so they understand the big impact of what their efforts are.
Right. Okay. So we'll send this out in a follow-up email. These words, you can make them your own, but we ask that if you could just send a short thank you around the budget allocation this month, that'd be terrific. All right. So now I think it's time for tips and tricks for Halloween, but that's actually Lisa, not me, Susan. So we just thought we would try to be cute for the month, but we actually talked about these tips and tricks during Advocacy Day, but we thought we would just do a little quick refresher. Lisa?
Well, we could not find a pumpkin to match our slides. That's why we missed that moment on there. But our tips and tricks are we need to prepare in advance what we're asking of our individuals. If we're asking for them to support funding, if we're asking for them to be aware of a program, maybe bring some information to our center, we need to be prepared. We need to know where they, in their ideology or their voting record stands, if maybe they're unaware of it, or maybe sometimes even opposed to the action item. We need to be aware that we come in well prepared. We then need to be able to make our connections. And it's really crucial that, I can't say it enough, that when we do our reach outs, that we talk to the staff members as well as the elected body. And that is at a city council level for those big cities. It's at the board of supervisor county level, and it's at the state level. Your staff members for your elected officials need to know what you're asking, what work you do, and who you serve in the community, so that you have a better line of communication to the elected official who gets bombarded by everybody. So making a long-lasting impression is important. The connecting and visiting with the members in person is crucial. Virtual is fine, but it's really important to have those one-on-one connections, inviting them to your facility when it's not just time to ask for something, tours, highlighting the program, giving them a feel-good moment if the opportunity presents itself, and making those connections so that when a matter comes before them and the body they're serving that may affect the types of people we are working with, then they may feel comfortable reaching out, asking, hey, how does this measure affect the community, and does your center support that? So it's knowing that they can rely on us as we rely on them. And then, of course, asking. We need to be able to ask for assistance, make them aware of our programs. One thing to have a connection, we need to be prepared how we ask them and be specific in the ask and not just ambiguous, like, hey, thanks for being supportive is nice, but asking, hey, we need your help on this budget item. And we worked really hard to get this budget item on the allocation on the budget, and it's because we make the app. And then, of course, the activity, the tip of the day is thanking everybody. We are all trying to be gracious once a year, but when we make these big asks and these big lifts, we don't always know what goes on behind the scenes to ensure that our measures get the attention they deserve. So we can't say thank you enough to our elected, their staff members, and we have to thank them directly, but also to the public, making them aware of our gratitude so that they know that the message was heard.
Great. And so we're going to talk quickly about just some of these things about how to connect, and then we're going to open up for conversation. Lisa. Yeah.
So I know it's redundant, but it's so important. We have to make sure that the elected officials are aware of the family justice centers and the work we're doing here. Because remember, they're not going to be in office forever. They may leave, they may not have the same relationship. And certainly when they leave office, it's different than when they started. They may be aware of us, but that means we need to be prepared for the next person. Particularly this time in California with reapportionment, with a lot of new elected members. So we really have to continue to engage them on a regular basis, not just wait for the big moments. So we need to be aware of what they support. We want to, make them aware of site visits, give them the opportunity to see us, see what the work we do, and so that they know what is happening in our protected walls, so that they can better serve the community and continue to make sure that they have a relationship with members of our team, so that they know who they can call and that they know who they trust. So to continue always having that relationship, phone numbers being available to them whenever possible. And then we have our go ahead, Erin. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we have our how to connect. And so our connecting isn't just, hi, how are you? It's telling them stories. It's the storytelling, which never ends. It's on personal stories. Maybe we're helping an individual. And I'm going to give this quick example. I have an elected official, assembly member, whose son is a sheriff's deputy in my community. And I had a chance last week to tell the assembly member at a luncheon that wasn't about us, about something his deputy son did to bring a victim into our center. And this deputy went above and beyond his job that day to ensure the safety of the grandmother that had custody of these children, and to make sure that the orders were in place to protect them. In the meantime, this deputy went above and beyond to protect that family as the law of the courts are working their system out. So being able to have that connection, to go back to the assembly member about something his son did as it relates to knowing he could call the center, was huge. And, it's always nice to say those things, but it's making a direct point on how it makes a difference. And we have to always relate back to our community. You know, each of our communities are different in their diversity and who we serve, and we need to make sure that we represent our stories, our communication to the variety of individuals that serve us as representatives, how it relates back to our communities, and always being aware of when it's a call to action. Maybe if our issue for our survivor stories, using those stories to be able to remind our elected officials why we need them, and keeping those stories current, an inventory of those. You know, my center, for example, we're doing another batch of stories, trying to create them of our survivors so we don't lose those moments and the momentum that we have.
Great. And then we have some ideas about, you know, just how to engage. And if you don't know your representative or they're new, we really recommend doing a deep dive of research to find out what issues that they love, and that you can make a connection between the issues they love, or in Lisa's case, their relatives. And then we also advocate that you share information regularly, which I know many of you are doing. And so we wanted to, I think, open up for conversation about some of these tips and tricks right now. Lisa's going to facilitate our conversation, and just wanted to know what kind of tips and tricks you all have in your areas that we can share and kind of cross-fertilize a little bit about connecting locally with members and their staff.
I know we all have different ways to do that. I try to make sure I put them on my phone and connect with them during time periods when they're here in the community, maybe at a mixer or a chamber event or a meeting, talking to them. Hey, can we have a few minutes? What are some other tips that you all use when you're connecting with folks in the community?
And I love that we have a cross section of we have Los Angeles, and we have, you know, we've got urban and rural here today, and small and larger places. So there might be other different approaches in different places. Sacramento's kind of in between. Did I say that, Faith? Sorry. I guess we're urban now. We're urban. Hershawn, how's it going in LA? What do you you've got the big power kahunas down there. So how's it going with your outreach?
So actually we're in Bay Area.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're in Bay Area. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop recording so that we could
Carol.
actually.
I meant Carol.
I'm gonna stop recording. Is that okay? Yeah. I'm gonna stop recording. Okay. Bye, everyone. If you are gonna watch this.
Carol, how's it going in LA?